Welcome into a live edition of the KC Laboratory presented by Emprise Bank, member FDIC, our wonderful partners in Possible here at KC Sports Network. And it is a live game preview edition of the KC Laboratory. Kent Swanson here with Maddie Lane and the lovely Craig Stout. Maddie, how are we feeling?
Listen, I'm feeling great. It is a banger of a week for college football. I mean, we are really kicking off this week. We got big games from noon going all night. Like I am ready. I am ready for this weekend of college football. I don't know if there's anything else going on this weekend that is really piquing my interest, but I will say the college football being played this weekend at the SEC and the SEC and the SEC, and I guess the Big Ten is looking pretty good.
It is looking pretty good. But the Chiefs are playing the Ravens this week. Like, this is a major game. I think we would have all targeted this at the very beginning of the season. We got two heavyweights early in the season. Probably not going to have a big effect on the regular season rankings because both of these teams are really good and probably ran through a lot of the early part of the season. Oh, crap. They're both 1-2. This is not a great position for either of these teams to be in. There's just a lot of really good football that's going to be on all weekend long. I am really, really excited about it.
I love how the sky is falling in Kansas City and everything in Baltimore is just fine. Oh, they'll figure it out. But like Kansas City, it's like this existential crisis. That's just been a funny story arc to kind of follow here the last few weeks. But we're gonna get into this game. What a massive game for both of these teams. One of them will be 1-3 and staring at the dreaded divisional round AFC Championship path to make it to the Super Bowl, which the Chiefs have already done and actually achieved. And neither the Bills or Ravens have done, by the way. But whoever loses this game is very much in play that they will probably have to go to one of Buffalo, probably both Buffalo and Kansas City when it's most likely coming down to the end of the year. So pretty massive game for both of these teams. We can't wait to break down that, but I'm not forgetting this week. There's no chance I'm forgetting this week. I can't throw into the game preview quite yet because, ladies and gentlemen, we have to get to the segment that is sweeping the nation. 7 minutes at a time.
7 minutes at a time. The slowest, most incremental sweep across the nation.
Oh, okay. I'm glad you had it sweep.
Yeah. All right, everybody. Hey, first one of these that I get to do coming off of a win. Kansas City Chiefs looked a lot better this week. We can start with the defense and how they made Russ look silly, but frankly, he didn't need any help to do that. Anybody that's going to throw a pass off the crossbar on 4th down, needing a touchdown, there's little that Steve Spagnuolo really needed to do here. It was a good defensive performance, don't get me wrong, but we're going the opposite direction here. We're going with the offense. And I know a lot of people have made comments about the second half, how much improved it was. I want to focus on a singular player that really got the most run that we've seen so far this season. That's rookie Bashard Smith. Now, I know a lot of people are looking at his usage in the jet sweeps. Those were good. That's what you expect out of Bashard Smith. It's what you expect that he's going to line up and be able to do. But right off the rip, when he was on the field, the offense was moving the ball. Very first snap that he had, he's lined up in the backfield and goes on quick motion out, and it's man coverage. Linebacker, kind of bails on all of this. The Chiefs throw a quick middle of the field screen to Juju Smith-Schuster. It goes for 18 yards. That does not happen unless this linebacker is evacuating. That's a great play call by Andy. Great execution. Great job. It was one of the few moments in the first half that you felt like, oh, offense had a little something going here. Another one. It was second and crazy long from the Chiefs 35. Bashard Smith runs a go route on the outside. They're in empty. He runs a go route up the outside there. It ends up pulling a safety and pulling a corner down opening up the middle of the field. Gray pattern here. Now all of a sudden, you start more two-back formations. So this is really what kind of perked my ears. A lot of two-back. May not have noticed it as much. Isaiah Pacheco was in the backfield, and Bashard Smith was lined up out wide on almost every single one of these two-back formations. Sometimes he'd come across it in more of a jet sweep motion. We saw him get the ball on a couple of those, but we also saw some orbit motion, that Tyreek Hill motion that we're all very familiar with from back in the day, where he really got his cardio in, kind of looping around the quarterback and the running back. Guys, when Bashard Smith was on the field in these motions, basically keeping the linebackers honest, Isaiah Pacheco got the ball 3 times. On those 3 runs, he gained 24 total yards. That's 8 yards a clip. That's awesome. And a game that we are all coming off of this talking about how Isaiah Pacheco is not the answer, that matters in a big way. That means on the other 7 times that he touched the ball where Bashard Smith was not influencing the linebackers, he averaged 3 yards per carry. He averaged more in those 3 carries with this two-back formation, and Bashard Smith creating a light box, creating advantageous angles for Isaiah Pacheco than Pacheco did in these other scenarios where it was light boxes, obvious passing situations, you name it, did not matter. His most effective runs were with Smith on the field. And I think that's what we're going to see out of him. I know we're not seeing a ton of running back snaps out of him. We're not going to see a ton of his usage coming out of the backfield. It looks fine. It's not great. It's fine out of the backfield. May necessitate more of that after Isaiah Pacheco's performance this past week. But him in these two-back scenarios, him in some of these looks, they're already getting creative with how they can use him out wide, how they can use him in motion, how they can use him on jet sweeps. It's going to force defenses to keep them honest, and it's going to prevent defensive ends, defensive tackles, and linebackers from being able to tee off on some of that downhill stuff. This Chiefs run game needs all the help it can get. So I'm staring at these two-back formations, and I'm looking at this and saying, oh, wow, they can pass the ball out of these. He clears stuff out. He opens stuff up from the other passing side of the game in limited snaps. And he's really impacting the way that they can defend the run with him on the field for other guys as well. So while everybody may be looking at his touches on those jet sweeps, the pass that he caught, the pass that he didn't catch, I get why you're focused on that. His real effectivity this week was actually opening stuff up for other people. And that's something that we weren't seeing in previous weeks. So Andy, building little by little, I wish he would build more and more, but little by little, getting these guys on the field really paid off for the offense this week.
So, I think that's a really important thing to denote here. So we didn't spend a lot of time on this. Everybody talked a little bit about how they were using Bashard Smith on these jet motions or just coming across this on these quick motions and getting the ball. But we didn't talk about the fact that it was being used to create space in the way that they've used Xavier Worthy or Tyreek Hill in the past, guys that you are a weapon with the ball in their hand. Just now you go with it with another running back who's a dangerous person. So now without Worthy on this team, they have not had anybody reliable at all to do any of the jet motion stuff. They didn't even have a McCole Hardman who did a lot of that stuff in the past. They had nobody. It's Hollywood Brown's not that guy. Juju's not that guy. They don't have anyone to be in that role. They go that route with go ahead.
Did you notice who they used other than Bashard Smith in that role?
Nico Remigio got the first one across it. So yeah, I think it's a really good point. Like, hey, that is something that this offense is used, and they've used it in the past to get the run game going. It's a very finesse run game. The whole thing about the run game is smoke and mirrors to create angles in space, right? They're trying to create bubbles in the defense that they can attack, the space in the defense they can attack. When you don't have that kind of end around, that jet motion threat, it gets a little bit more difficult to always make it an RPO. So I agree that was a nice little wrinkle they threw in. I will also denote that 3 of these plays where Bashard Smith and Pacheco were on the field together, it was from under center, and those gains were 8 yards, Pacheco, 10 yards, Pacheco, 5 yards under Bashard Smith. So yeah, I do think Bashard Smith mattered, but I also think that it coincided with also going under center, which I do think the Chiefs run game will be better at, especially Isaiah Pacheco. So 2 things work together there to make it effective. But yeah, I think it's a really good point because the Chiefs have been missing that jet motion aspect that they have used every other year Andy has been here.
It just makes you a step slow as a linebacker. Like, you've got to read that out because they gave it to Bashard Smith a couple of times. They weren't huge gains. They were consistent, solid gains. I'm not trying to talk bad about those plays, but those linebackers had to stay home, had to stay that extra half a beat. And like I said, with the way the Pacheco's running right now, any little bit that he can get, any angle that he can get at the moment is super advantageous. So I like that they're building on it. I like that they're doing the under center stuff at Maddie. That matters a lot too. But I really like the usage of Bashard Smith because, boy, they need some speed and juice on the field right now.
2 carries, 13 yards for Bashard Smith. Do you know who did have the longest run for the Kansas City Chiefs in that game against the New York Giants, though?
Was it Remigio?
It was.
I was going to look up the play and what it was because it seemed like it might have been the longest. So I was just going to look up what it was, and I saw that it was 11. So I was like, oh, let's take a guess that nobody beat that.
It was an under
pretty
center
safe
jet.
Week in and week out.
Yeah, under center jet to Remigio for 11, under center jet to Bashard Smith for 8. 2 nice edge runs that they were able to build off of that. That really slick little counter play that Pacheco, I think, is what he got 10 on. Really nice, some nice runs that they put together, building that series. And I think that helped them find some offensive momentum there. I think that was part of where they started to find some success offensively, getting into some of that run game and really starting to get that going a little bit. I know there's really not a natural place to answer this question, but I thought it was interesting. Seamus asked, can someone explain the non-use of Jalen Royals last week, by the way? The man didn't see a single snap. I will just say, I think it's tough sledding for a rookie receiver to just try to get thrown back into the middle of things when he's missed so much time. So, I do think that probably has something to play as somewhat of a factor. I believe he was active, which was surprising. But I do think that there will eventually be a package, but I think the way the Chiefs like to operate with their rookie receivers, it could be just kind of a slow burn for him trying to get back into the swing of things. I don't know if Craig or Maddie, you have anything else to add to that.
Yeah, I also want to say he's a day 3 wide receiver. And historically, the hit rate is very, very low on day 3 wide receivers. And even when they do hit, very rarely is there a Puka Nacua coming onto your team, right? That doesn't happen. So even if a day 3 wide receiver is going to become something in the NFL, it's going to be a little bit of more of a slow burn. So you're coming off of an injury, not getting a fully clean camp, and then you're throwing them out there. The odds are already stacked against him just based on draft slotting, regardless of what we think of the player. The odds just say, or history says, it's unlikely he does anything besides become a role player. But more than that, in his first game, his first NFL action, it doesn't make sense to have expectations for him these first couple weeks for a while right now that he's going to do much besides be kind of like a backup plan in case somebody gets hurt.
Right. I think everybody sees him in the usage of maybe like a Rashee Rice, the way that they use Juju Smith-Schuster a little bit, bigger guy, middle of the field, can operate in that. That is all timing based. That is 100% timing based and working with Patrick Mahomes. And while they may have built some chemistry during training camp, that's not something that just comes easily. You don't put that guy on the middle of the field and say, oh, okay, well, we can trust that he's going to be open, catch the ball, be on time. Even if he is on the field, who knows? Is Patrick Mahomes going to look that way, especially against a defense that's trying to muddy up the middle of the field a little bit more? It just gets really, really difficult to try and find angles and avenues. So completely bring him back into practice, try and get that timing built throughout the week. I don't expect that we're going to see major production out of Jalen Royals, nor a major role for this team until much later in the season, if this season at all. So I'm not worried about it or anything like that. Hey, get him in the mix, get him learning the offense, introduce him when you feel like he's ready. As it stands right now, I think that they trust the other guy, especially guy in that role that's running that. Juju Smith-Schuster's been doing this for a long time for the Chiefs offense. So if it really is about timing and catches in the middle of the field and trying to do that, yeah, he's not going to break a bunch of tackles and run away from guys like Royals might, but he's going to be more open more of the time and be more consistent in this offense. They're going to prefer a guy like that right now.
Yeah, one more week removed from the injury and the recovery, maybe you'll see him on the field at GEHA Field at Arrowhead Stadium. Calling all Chiefs fans, you could be on the field at the 50 inside GEHA Field for the official coin toss at a Chiefs home game this season. Visit Chiefs.com/GEHA now. Enter to win a chance to be on the field for a once-in-a-lifetime view of the pregame coin toss. Plus, you can score other exclusive prizes. Enter for a chance to win at Chiefs.com/GEHA. GEHA is the proud partner of the Kansas City Chiefs. We're going to take a break. We'll be back right after this.
What's up, guys? I'm BJ Kissel, founder and CEO of KC Sports Network, and I'm here to talk to Kansas City businesses. If you rely on technology, you need an IT support team that's not just another vendor, but a true IT partner. That's why I want to introduce you to my friend and neighbor, KJ Miller. He is a VCIO at ThrottleNet, the Midwest's highest rated and most reviewed IT support company. They've been in business for more than 25 years, helping companies stay secure, productive, and ahead of the curve. They aren't just IT support, but they provide data security, IT strategy, and cloud software services. They do it all, and their reviews show they do it better than anyone else. So if you want to hear about how ThrottleNet can help your local business, join the conversation with myself, KJ Miller from ThrottleNet, and our resident genius from KC Sports Network when it comes to IT, at least as he's affectionately known by us, Mr. Craig Stout. Click the link in the description to hear how ThrottleNet can help you.
My name is Terrell Jolly. A lot of people call me TJ, founder and CEO of Integrity Capital Management. So Integrity Capital Management originally started out as a property management firm, but we slowly transitioned to what is described as an incremental development firm that's focused on situational housing. I know most people say affordable, but we believe in creating housing for people that are actually in need and built to the end user. I believe everyone needs a home because when you have home, you have hope. The reality is that when you're building a business, one thing you don't think about is like what a true banking relationship means. And, you know, I had the honor and privilege of meeting Debbie early on in my career when I was just trying to get going. And as a small business, it's really challenging at times because people don't understand the concept or not believe in longevity because you're just getting started. But Debbie was willing to take a chance on me, be patient with me. I almost look at it like a grassroots initiative. She's seen and believe what I'm about. Anybody that's really true about their business and want to get some things done, I would definitely trust hands down Emprise because Deb's team, along with Aaron and Jackie and all the amazing people that work behind the scenes, even from the treasury side, I would say, hey, give them an opportunity because you won't be disappointed and you will actually be in hands that actually somebody care and that will see you from start to finish.
Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on a Wednesday game preview edition of the KC Laboratory. It is time to talk Chiefs Ravens, two absolute 1-2 juggernauts. Some are saying it's the greatest matchup of 1-2 teams this year.
Okay.
Hang on, I haven't looked at the rest of the league yet, but I feel confident that you're right about this, kid.
Feel pretty good about that one. We are continuing our preview series by asking big questions on both sides of the football each. And that's what we've been doing. It's been fun. I've enjoyed that very much. And so we're going to keep that thing going. Let's see. Offensive side of the ball. Let's go. Craig Stout. Why don't you lead this thing off here with your first offensive question?
Let's go.
By the way, want to just point out here, Bears Raiders. That's one of the 1-2 matchups this year or this week. And then the other one is Panthers Patriots. I think we're pretty safe.
That might be it.
The Chiefs. That
Super Bowl rematch.
Reason.
Can't say that the same about the others.
Super Bowl rematch. Okay. Yes, Tuck, you were getting ready to throw up the graphic there. Sorry about that, buddy. Yeah, my offensive question.
Put the music
4
back
questions. Is the second half offense from last week sustainable versus Baltimore? When you go back and you watch the Chiefs offense from the second half of last week, it's not like they made drastic changes in their play calling. There was a little bit better implementation from some of the players that they had out there. Bashard Smith, we talked about earlier. Tyquan Thornton, they really relied on him a little bit more. I actually liked what we saw out of Juju Smith-Schuster a little bit in the second half as well. But it was mostly execution. So That's one of the things that I'm looking at here, because you have to execute at an insanely high level against these Baltimore Ravens. I know that people have seen a lot of points scored against the Ravens this season, and I get why you could look at that and think, oh my God, yeah, this defense is ripe for the picking. They are ridiculously good at disguising and rotating into the middle of the field, which up until last week is where Patrick Mahomes tried to live. Those first 2 weeks of the season, he threw to the middle of the field very, very frequently, or short to the flats. That's why it was so frustrating. That's why we're all sitting around, very, very frustrated at the identity of this offense, because it just looked terrible. You can't play that way against the Baltimore Ravens. They are prepared and well-staffed to be able to defend that. First of all, you can't throw to the flats and expect that these guys that they have on the field right now, Rashee Rice is not on the field. So there's not going to be somebody that you're going to expect to break tackles, especially when it's Kyle Hamilton, Malachi Starks, Nate Wiggins, Marlon Humphrey, these guys that are Roquan Smith. You don't break tackles from those guys. They are ridiculously good at coming up, filling the alley, and hitting and limiting gains. So living in the flats isn't going to work. Living in the intermediate area of the field, Roquan Smith right now is not necessarily a good pass defender, but he's scary to go over the middle against. Ask Amon-Ra St. Brown, who by the end of that game was a little gun shy going across the middle of the field. Roquan kept putting his shoulder into him in a big way, like really rocking him in the middle of the field. That was a problem for that Lions offense. Jared Goff was throwing into very, very tight windows in those middle of the field throws. He was exceptional against the Ravens. Patrick Mahomes certainly has that ability, but the other end of that is going to be, are you going to have somebody that has the kind of separation that a Jameson Williams, an Amon-Ra St. Brown, my goodness, what a mouthful that was there. Sam Laporta, these guys have much more separation you can throw into those windows. It's going to be a lot more difficult to throw in the areas of the field that they are currently built with these players that they have on offense. I know everybody's going to say, oh, Tyquan Thornton down the field. Yeah, you feel good about that. They have the ability to get by some of these guys, get over the top against Kyle Hamilton, against Malachi Starks. You feel good about that. But that is a, 33% chance right now, based on the history between Patrick Mahomes and Tyquan Thornton. That's going to be really, really rough. And the way that you can beat the Ravens is by running the ball. Chiefs ain't running the ball at all right now. So this is one of those things that I'm really curious how they're going to attack them, because where they've lived so far is right where the Ravens really thrive.
Yeah, the Ravens defense is, actually, let's go back. The Chiefs offense, I think the biggest adjustment they made in that second half, we talked about it on Monday a little bit, was they just went back to a more traditional quick game. It was less trying to just get the ball in guys' hands and let them run after the catch, and more of, we're going to pick up our 5 yards by throwing a 5-yard route instead of throwing a 2-yard route, and then seeing if they can get more after that, right? Like it was just more traditional. They got away from all the bubbles and all the little stuff out to the flats and just trying to out leverage defenders, because they don't have any of their athletes out there on the field. There's a really good adjustment stuff we talked about, going under center, using Bashard Smith or Nico Remigio to create space to get the run game going. Like, I do think there was some good stuff that they did that they should definitely carry over to this game, especially after watching how the Ravens tried to handle the Detroit Lions, especially going under center, especially when they built their condensed sets. That was a disaster. Roquan Smith is scary over the middle of the field. Tell you what, he ain't playing good football anywhere else right now, and he's still the best linebacker. He might be their best run defender on that entire team right now, with Travis Jones, I think, still a little banged up. Madubuike most likely not playing. Like, their best
he got ruled out earlier today, Maddie. They ruled him out. Yeah.
Yeah, and I know they said they're real worried about that neck. Roquan Smith's not playing good ball either, and he still might be their best run defender. So they're definitely weak up the middle, and I'm with Craig. I don't know if that's what the Chiefs will take advantage of, but man, the Ravens defense, they're bottom 5 in EPA per play, bottom 5 in success rate per play. Like, they are a really bad defense right now. And I'm looking through all the numbers, they're averaging, they're just outside the top 10 worst in terms of like yard tackling after the catch. They're allowing the 10th most yards over expectation after the catch. They're missing tackles in the open field. They're giving up explosive plays. There's a lot of stuff about this defense that doesn't look great. The problem is nothing I said sounds like something the Chiefs have really taken advantage of so far this year. They have all these weaknesses, but it's not necessarily stuff that aligns with the Chiefs do well, which I'm not really sure what that is, but it does. I don't know. It doesn't align with what the Chiefs do well. So that is something to watch.
Do you think they just try to run the football a little bit more this week? We ask
Oh
this
my
every single
goodness.
we ask this every single week on every single show, every single time we do a game preview, and sometimes it just makes sense to just try to run the football a little bit more. And we ask ourselves, should they run the football a little bit more? And then they throw it 67% of the time. They don't run the football anymore, and it doesn't matter. Should they try to run the football again a little bit more this week? Should they give that a go, knowing that there is some weaknesses there up front with Nnamdi Madubuike out, with some beat up players in the front seven? No, yes.
No.
What do you
Well,
think?
here's the thing. I'm looking it out. The Ravens are tied for worst EPA per rush with the Tennessee Titans. They have allowed the second most rushing yards over expectation, again, only behind the Titans. They are the yards before contact are not particularly good either. They're bottom 5 there. It looks like they are not a good run defense right now. So yeah, the Chiefs should try. Are you asking should they or will they? Let me clarify.
Will they?
No.
Yes, I think they will. I think they will because I think they know they kind of need to win this game. And I think that Andy, when he has to win games, probably locks in a little bit more. And I do think they try to run the ball more. Maybe this is just first half because they fall behind, but I do think they come out with I don't think last week was it where they just threw the ball down the entire first drive. Like they said, yeah, we're not going to run it all. I don't think we get that 15 play script again. I think they do try to establish the run early in this game.
I do agree with that, Maddie, but the answer to will they is no, and should they is also no. It's no. It's not effective. They can't run the ball right now. They don't have any juice. The guys that do have juice are not between the tackles runners, and then there's Isaiah Pacheco. So, I mean, they don't have the ability to line up and run the ball the way that the other teams, like when you reference that EPA per rush, okay, so who have they played that was really good at running the ball? The Detroit Lions. They got a couple of really good running backs over there. Oh, who else did they play? Oh, the Buffalo Bills. Well, damn it, that's a good running back room. Okay. Yeah, that's rough. There's a reason why it's like, yes, they're certainly weak against it. I don't think that the Chiefs lining up and trying to play bully ball on the ground, as much as it may suit against the Baltimore Ravens, I just don't see a way that is effective for Kansas City this week.
Hey, the Cleveland Browns are also effective on the ground. Listen, the Browns were also effective on the ground versus the Ravens. So you know what?
That's true.
Yeah.
They found something. Tuck put my.
Hey, they got Quinshon Judkins.
Not that game.
He looks pretty good.
You look good this week. My question is there a running back shakeup? So speaking of that running back room, and we're talking about, hey, how many carries these guys getting? Who's getting the carries this week? Because I mean, we talked a little bit about Isaiah Pacheco, and I'd laugh every time I think about Maddie thinking about that play. Like seriously, all week.
It's so funny.
It's just funny how tickled you've been all week about it. Like that is just.
Andy got up on the podium and said, "You can't do that once or twice." Thanks, Andy. You're correct. You can't. Well, you can, but shouldn't.
Twice.
Once or twice. That was my favorite part.
Does that shake some things up? The Chiefs paid Elijah Mitchell. I actually think he had some moments in the preseason where he looked completely fine. And had a little bit more juice than some of the runners that we've seen on this team. Which is
all of them?
low bar to clear. Yes. Yes, Matthew. He did some good things in the preseason. We haven't seen him yet. We haven't seen him active, but they kept him. They held on to him, and they're still paying him. So is this a week we see a shakeup? Do we think, that maybe the Chiefs are going to try to mix up the rotation a little bit, like losing a little bit of trust, knowing that they need to get the run game going? They might just have to try something different. And that something different could be a little bit more Bashard Smith, but maybe it's even a little bit Elijah Mitchell. Maybe it's simply just, throwing Kareem Hunt in a few different spots that they might otherwise not. I don't know, Craig. Do you think we see any substantial shakeup in the running back room for this game against the Baltimore Ravens? And by the way, no, it doesn't have to mean that they run the ball more. We can put that one to bed. Who's getting the carries though? Who's getting the carries though, Craig?
Oh, the same people. Like, I mean, I hate to be the Debbie Downer of this, but I don't think the Chiefs are changing their run game unless they make an addition to this. Like, I really don't. I like the pining for Elijah Mitchell. I think that is a more realistic addition to this room in the very near future that we could see. Yes, I agree. I thought he showed more juice. I don't understand what this team is getting out of some of these other guys. I know what they're getting out of Kareem Hunt, to be fair. I know exactly what they're getting out of Kareem Hunt. It's not any juice at all, but he's got eyes. He sees where he needs to go, and he can pick up a couple of yards. That's very valuable on a team that has historically struggled with those short yardage situations. Bashard Smith, they don't trust to play running back in the same way that they trust some of these other guys. So why not Elijah Mitchell? I don't understand what it is. If it's a playback thing, if they don't trust him on the field yet, if they don't trust him to pick up blitzes, whatever the case may be. But as it stands right now, I fully expect Mitchell to be inactive on game day against the Baltimore Ravens, and they're going to continue to hand the ball off to Isaiah Pacheco at a big clip. They're going to continue to hand the ball off to Kareem Hunt. I mean, Andy stood up on his presser and went, "Hey, that Isaiah Pacheco had 4.5 yards per carry back in his hometown. Isn't that great?" Yeah. So I think that they're going to continue to push this until they make an addition to this roster. And I think we are now to the point where it has entered the top spot for things that you could look for before the trade deadline. But I don't expect that it's happening until we get much closer to the trade deadline.
I'm holding out some hope for Elijah Mitchell still. I just really do wonder if it goes the route of like Jerick McKinnon, and he's not the same type of player, but like to where they ease him in coming on off all these injuries. And as the year goes on, he gets a little bit heavier workload. And based on what we've seen, boy, you might have to go into that route a little bit sooner than later. But, we'll see. I don't know if it'll happen this week. I will say this, though. I was looking because I thought this is what I saw. And nobody's said anything about it, like the coaches or anything. But after a carry on the Chiefs' second drive, Kareem Hunt essentially only played 1 or 2 snaps for 4 straight series. And they were pretty much all third downs, like all late down stuff. Pacheco got all the other work. That's the first time they've gone a stretch like that without it essentially being a 50-50 split between Mr. Kareem Hunt and Isaiah Pacheco. I really do think, not injured, but I do think he got hit in a way that caused him discomfort in that game. And it took them a while for to say, okay, we need you to get back in there, or for him to feel comfortable. So I don't think you get as heavy of a Pacheco workload that you got this past week upcoming against the Ravens. I do think it goes back to a pretty much, in terms of touches, the 50-50-ish between Hunt and Pacheco for this game, rather than leaning a lot more Pacheco. I do think that there was something that happened there, because there was a long stretch of this game where it was mostly Isaiah Pacheco, and in situations that they don't really use Isaiah Pacheco. Like, he's statistically one of the worst pass protecting backs in the NFL. He just doesn't pick up stuff at a particularly good rate. We were looking at it, I think it was last year going into the season, one of the statistically worst pass protecting running backs. I don't think it's gotten better. So I think that something had to happen to keep Hunt off the field in those situations for those 4 entire series.
I think it's your turn for a question, Matthew.
Okay. I got to reset all my windows because I was changing stuff for other things, but okay, we are ready for my question now. What in the actual flipper can Kansas City do on third downs? Great Penguins too. So listen, I'm gonna ask you guys some questions here about the Chiefs on third down. What do you think their success rate is like on third down? How often are they converting third downs into first downs right now? Any guesses?
Oh, I looked it up the other day, Maddie, but I can't remember off the top of my head. I want to say high 40%.
That's what they were last year.
Okay.
I would say 39.
Just under 42%, which is tied for 14th. Not terrible, but not good. That's way below what the Chiefs typically are, which is a top 5, top 3 team in terms of third down conversion rate. But okay, that's fine. That's not, it could be worse. What do you guys think they are? What do you think their drop back EPA per play is on third down? What rank? Not the number, but what rank in the NFL do you think their drop back? Now, this includes scrambles.
Thank you for not making me guess the number.
They're 17th, which again, also not particularly good. Success rate, guess what? They're also right there around like 12th, I believe it is. So what I'm trying to say is they're not as good on third downs as they typically have been. I don't think that's a surprise to any of us watching. So we got to figure out how is this team going to be successful on third down? How are they going to move the chains? They obviously are making more explosive plays this year. They're kind of in the middle of the pack, towards the back end of the middle of the pack of the NFL in explosive plays this year. So they're overall, the offense is functioning at the same rough efficiency as it did last year, but the success rate has dropped because the explosive has gone up. How do we get better? How do they get more consistent at driving the ball down the field? They got to convert more third downs. The issue very much has been the passing game, trying to convert third downs. So I'm going to ask you guys, who do you think leads the Chiefs in third down targets this year?
Ooh, hold on. Juju.
Hollywood.
He is second. It's
Okay.
Tyquan Thornton.
Let's go.
I didn't want to guess. I really wanted to do Taekwon, but I was like, no, it's a limited sample size. And
he's 4 conversions on 7 attempts. Pretty good.
Okay.
Marquis Hollywood Brown is second. 1 conversion on 6 targets. Not so good. Guess how many third down targets Travis Kelce has this year? This has been his bread and butter for his career, is the third down ability. Even as he slowed down, how many targets on third down do you think he has this year?
And you said Hollywood had 7 targets on third down?
He had 6.
6. Okay. I'm gonna say 3 for Travis Kelce.
I'm gonna go under.
A single one.
Wow.
And it was this past week. And he converted it. He's 1 for 1. So shout out Travis Kelce. He hit that little whip route against the Giants.
He did. It was a good whip route, but
only target that he has on third down on the year. It's just they don't have anything going on third downs, and it makes sense because they are in third and a little bit longer than I think they have been in the past due to the run game not working. The early down passing game is one of the worst in the NFL, so they are facing third and longer. So it would make some sense that Travis Kelce at this point in his career isn't getting a ton of it and stuff. It's just these are just some numbers that really jumped out to me when looking through it. I love Tyquan Thornton and what he's brought to this team. That man cannot be your leading third down target getter. That's not his game. That's not where he is going to excel. He is your explosive play guy. He's your down the field guy. He's got the most targets, and he's converting it at a pretty good rate. 4 for 7. It's pretty good.
Maddie, I have good news for you, though.
Oh, sure.
I do have good news because the answer, or part of the answer, might just be coming back this week. Xavier Worthy, full participant today for the Kansas City Chiefs during the Wednesday practice. I think was it a third down that they were trying to go to him on that
the mesh
that destroyed his shoulder?
They tried it with Hollywood Brown too.
Yeah,
it also didn't work. He also got destroyed, just not by his own teammate.
They also tried to throw a now route screen out to Travis Kelce last week as well. So I mean, they're trying a lot of things. I think the good news is Worthy's presence and his gravity will, I think, help just the entirety of the offense. Simply just him back. And once Rashid gets back, I think good things will happen too. But I mean, I think Worthy can really help support in that capacity. His return, it seems like, is coming this week. And if that is the case, him being a full participant this week on Wednesday, we are trending towards him being available for this game. He can make all the difference in the world. I think he can be someone that, whether or not he is getting the ball, they have to know where he's at on the field. And that can open up a lot more things for this offense. And then when you bring Rashid back, I think things even, happen even more exponentially. But I think Worthy can really help solve that problem a little bit, I think, against the Ravens in moving forward.
Yeah, that's going to matter so much for an offense that feels slow. Was talking. Well, no, I was actually talking to our friend of the show, Nate Tice, earlier today, and he was throwing some stats my way. Sorry for stealing these, Nate. That will probably be on Football 301. You should go listen to Nate. But the Chiefs are right around average for team speed this year for the GPS, like the tracked on field. That is shocking to me without Xavier Worthy and Rashee Rice on the field. Like, that really is shocking. So that is going to change so much for this offense, not just because of all the reasons that we look at this, verticality, the ability to outrun guys, all of this stuff. You can't play the same shells that you can. They are able to play an NFL average shell against this offense right now, and they've got Tyquan Thornton on the field. That's why he's been so effective, because you're playing an NFL average depth with some of this stuff, and the guy with 4.2 speed is running by everybody. You put Xavier Worthy on the field, now all of a sudden, you have to push those safeties even farther back. You can't rotate guys into the box as readily. You can't play the same sort of coverages on the outside. That matters on third down, especially when you've got blitz packages that are coming into the equation. You've got different guys that are trying to stay in and spy Patrick Mahomes, keep him in the pocket. You need that little bit of extra space and that distance between a corner that's maybe playing a little bit off coverage, 4 or 5 yards, and a safety that's playing back 15 yards versus what they're seeing right now, where you can stand up and you can press these guys at the line of scrimmage and play your safeties at 11, 12 yards. It's why the intermediate, the flats, all of that feels so difficult. Xavier just pushes everybody, just from a pure pre-snap alignment back. That helps on third down, helps on every down, but especially on third downs and obvious passing situations where you're going to see different coverage rotations, that's going to matter a lot. So seeing him this week is a major deal. I don't know if it's going to matter that much against a defense that could be, with the kind of guys that they have in the secondary. It's a very good secondary, but it's certainly going to make a major difference for the intermediate and shallow areas of the field where the Chiefs, living in 3rd and 5 and 3rd and 6 and not being able to convert the way that they need to, that leads to 2-3 more a game. Now, all of a sudden, we're not complaining so much about the fact that, they're not able to drive the length of the field. They're punting, after a set of downs. It just becomes, it feels better and it feels easier, and the defense is fresher.
All right, offensive players to watch. Let's get going. Craig, you kick things off.
I mean, I'm going Bashard Smith again. If there's anybody that they are going to get into this offense that's already on the field, that's not named Xavier Worthy, that can do some damage against this Ravens defense, it's a guy that they don't know how to defend because there's not much tape on him, and has at least some speed to be able to run away from these guys. Kyle Hamilton is the best safety in the NFL. Full stop. Kyle Hamilton has limitations. He does not run the way that some of these other guys in the secondary can. If you can get a guy like Bashard Smith matched up against Kyle Hamilton's going to win the majority of those because he's that good. But speed kills. And Bashard Smith being able to run away from a guy like that, being able to be a little bit slippery out there from a running back alignment where you'd normally rotate a safety down, matters. So I think we actually see last week was kind of the start. That was the shift into Bashard Smith's usage. I still don't know that he's going to see more than 15 snaps on offense, but I think we see that effectivity, the way that they deploy him, the types of looks they try and get him increase more and more to where we're not just saying, like I did at the beginning of the show, oh, he matters because he opened things up for other people. I think he becomes one of the focal points of the offense against a defense that frankly can't run with him.
I will go with Xavier Worthy.
Oh.
I think that you were going last. I will go with Xavier Worthy here. I think the Chiefs very clearly we're going to have a plan built around Xavier Worthy for the first part of the season, and they were going to have to funnel a lot of things through him. And I don't know of how much they will funnel, through him in the first week back and him still dealing with that shoulder injury, but I do anticipate him to be a heavy part of this game plan. And if that's the case, like the Chiefs have got a lot of things that they've been prepared to try to utilize in the absence of Rashid Rice to try to get him going and make him a big focal point. And I think you saw some of those things. Some of the ability to stretch the field horizontally is important as the ability to stretch vertically. And you saw the absence of that recently. And like they finally found some stuff going with Nico Remigio and with Bashard Smith run, stretching lateral. But they need both wide and deep with Worthy, and I think him and Thornton have a chance to get things going, and the vertical passing game has a chance to be a legitimate thing because I don't think that the Ravens pass rush is particularly good. So I think there's a lot of opportunity for Worthy to have a big game right out the gate in his first real opportunity to make an impact for this team. So I'm watching Xavier Worthy on the offensive side of the ball. Maddie Lane, what have you?
Give me Josh Simmons. I didn't think he had his best game versus the Giants of the year. It wasn't bad. It just, you could tell that the combination of Brian Burns, who's an excellent pass rusher that can win in multiple ways, paired with Kayvon Thibodeau, who can win in multiple different ways, who's having a great year, definitely put him on his heels a little bit. And I thought in the first half, he and Jawan Taylor just looked a little unsettled or uncomfortable with how they were being attacked. And I thought as the game went on, they got better. Well, you're going up against this Ravens pass rush, which is dangerous, but none of their edge rushers are as good as Brian Burns or probably Kayvon Thibodeau at this point in time, right? Like, it's a little bit of a step down. They're not playing great. So he'll get a matchup. Odafe Owe is become like a half situational player for the Ravens. Even as a pass rusher, he's not out there all the time. He's been outsnapped by Mike Green as of this past week, as one of the edge rushers who isn't knocking the world on fire, or like putting the world on fire either. So it's a better matchup for Simmons. I do think he comes into this game. It just, the energy level seemed a little bit lower to start the Giants game than he had in the Eagles game. So I just want to see him bounce back. And the biggest reason is if you can control these speed rushers that Baltimore has off the edge, I actually don't know if Baltimore is well positioned to get a ton of pressure on the Chiefs. Like, this will be, the Chargers somehow did better than we thought they would, given the pass rush they were looking at. But that Khalil Mack was good. Tier Tart had the game of his life, and he's been playing great this year. This might be, especially with Madubuike hurt, maybe no Kyle Van Noy, this might be the worst defensive line in terms of a pass rushing unit the Chiefs have faced up to this point. So there is a chance this offensive line as a whole can really slow them down. So if Josh Simmons doesn't need any help going off that left side, any help can be either sent to Jawan Taylor or can just be put right out into a route immediately rather than having to chip. I think that could go a long way, paired with, using Bashard Smith more, getting Xavier Worthy back, that you might have a little bit better flowing of an offense this particular game.
If you're looking to get a little action on this game, why don't you check out Benny's picks? Here's Benny Heisler for you.
Hey, what is happening? It is Ben Heisler, KCSN sports betting analyst. Got some thoughts on the Chiefs matchup this week at home against Baltimore. Again, Chiefs home dogs for the second time this year. Right now at DraftKings Sportsbook, the Chiefs plus 2.5 at near even money for this game against Baltimore at home. Total sitting at 48.5. We're going to dive into that matchup coming up in just a second, as well as a play. But for those of you that are on the Missouri side, wait, it's almost over, you guys. I promise. DraftKings Sportsbook, America's top-rated sportsbook app, is coming so soon to the Show Me State. You can actually sign up today. New Missouri customers can get $300 in bonus bets once DK Sportsbook launches on December 1st. You download the app now, place a $5 bet once you go live, and you can get yourself that $300 in bonus bets. It's got everything you need, whether you love in-game betting, you love the touchdown props, anything else. So many different ways to get in on the action. And when you go live in Missouri, you're going to be betting with the Sportsbook app trusted by millions. So let's break down this game for a second. You got the Ravens coming off a short week, mind you, with this game likely going to 3. We're seeing minus 120 at Ravens, minus 2.5 on the road in Kansas City. The Chiefs plus 2.5 at even odds. We're seeing 88% of the money on DraftKings coming towards the Ravens as a road favorite, compared to just 12% of the money for the Chiefs. And the total in this game right now, over 48.5, is getting just 27% of the money and 63% of the bets. So a lot of money coming in on the under at 48.5 at 73% of the money and just 37% of the bets. Now, there are a few things that are working in favor of Kansas City in this game. You got Lamar and his documented struggles against Kansas City. He's just 1-5 straight up and 2-4 against the spread in head-to-head games against Mahomes. The Ravens' best win in the Reid Mahomes era has come by just a single point against the Chiefs. That was 36-35 back in 2021. Mahomes, I've talked about this before. Historically, he's been a really good underdog play, 12-3-1 against the spread, including 11-5 straight up. But he's actually already lost one of those games this year. That was week 2 against Philly. Maybe you can argue that the Chiefs deserve to win. Regardless, that's still a number that didn't live up to it this year. And when the Chiefs play a team on short rest in the Andy Reid Mahomes era, they're 18-3 straight up. The key for me is whether or not the Chiefs can run on Baltimore. Short week, Ravens rank dead last in the NFL in rushing yards allowed. Their defense has been picked apart all season long. They're also leading the league in rushing touchdowns allowed. That's going to be the key difference here, is whether the Chiefs can sustain some long drives, get Pacheco moving in the right direction, get some extra conversions on third down with Kareem Hunt. And when I think about the ideal ways to bet this game, seeing that much money come in on the Ravens scares me a little bit. I would take the Chiefs at +3. I think that's a good number to get, and that's likely the direction this game is going. But I'd rather get them at an even better number. And so my bet for this game is I'm going to use the Chiefs in a 2-team 6-point teaser over at DraftKings. I like the Chiefs going from +2.5 to +8.5. And then also taking the Texans, yes, the 0-3 Texans, who are at home against the 0-3 Titans, moving the Texans, which are a touchdown favorite at -7, down to -1 versus Tennessee. You combine those two together, you get the Chiefs at +8.5 at home against a team that they have constantly done a good job of beating in close games. And the Texans only have to win by 1 point or more against Tennessee. Combine those two together in a 6-point 2-team teaser. So if that's something you're interested in, make sure you download the DraftKings Sportsbook app. Do it today. Use code KCSN to grab $300 in bonus bets with just a $5 bet once everything goes live on December 1st. Again, KCSN is the code in partnership with DraftKings Sportsbook. If you have a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. You must be 21 plus, physically present in Missouri. Eligibility restrictions apply. Bonus bets expire 7 days after they're issued. That excludes customers who redeem their pre-launch sign-up offer. Terms available at sportsbook.draftkings.com/promos.
Appreciate everyone hanging out with us on a game preview edition of the KC Laboratory. Time to talk about the defensive side of the ball. We got defensive questions cooking.
Woo.
I'll kick us off. I think.
Proud of his.
Oh, I like it.
Can the Chiefs have the most disciplined rush plan of the season?
No. Oh, maybe.
We know that there's been some pitfalls with the rush plans at times and being consistently in their gap across the board. And I think this is a week you cannot mess with that. You have to be consistent. You have to mush rush. You have to contain the quarterback. You have to be consistent. You can't get too far up the arc. Well, actually, Lions did some things. Last week that were a little bit interesting. But regardless of how they try to contain Lamar Jackson, you have to have a plan. It has to start there. It has to start with consistently adhering to your rush plan. And if the Chiefs do that, and at any team, what teams do that, good things happen. I think the Chiefs have had pretty good success with their rush plans against Lamar Jackson. I think that's been part of the reason that they've been so effective against him historically. It's gotta be the best rush plan and execution that they've had the entire season. Good things will happen if it simply starts with consistent, contain, rush, having a plan for the athleticism and escapability of Lamar Jackson. Can they do it, Craig Stout? No, not can they do it? No, we're not doing it. Will they do it, Craig Stout?
I think we're going to see our most disciplined rush plan of the year. George Karlaftis got up and did a presser earlier today. At the time of this recording, this is Wednesday, stood up there, and one of the very first things out of his mouth was, we have to have rush lane integrity. Do you think that they've been hammering that just like crazy this week? Absolutely the case. Steve Spagnuolo does a really good job of building the right game plan to try and take the things that we all, as we watch Lamar look even better and better into his career. Like, he is a legitimate top flight quarterback, throwing the ball, running the ball, the whole thing. Steve Spagnuolo makes him look worse. We go into these games every single time and we talk about, oh man, how are they going to slow him down? How are they going to stop him? And yet they line up and they're able to do so. And that's including a guy that frequently wants to get out of his gap, wants to play the way that he wants to play, wants to get the matchup that he wants to, in Chris Jones. We saw a little bit of this last week. Certainly Russell Wilson, not even in the same stratosphere as Lamar Jackson as a runner, as a passer, anything at this point. But we have seen Russ take off out of the pocket a lot more on third downs this year. He has a propensity to try and do that, whereas he was a guy that did not used to do that. What did we see? We saw Omar Norman Lott occupying a double, keeping his eyes in the backfield, and then going and making a play at the line of scrimmage to try and corral that. What we saw the Lions do, rushing high up the arc. Even some of the stunts twists, loops, things that they were doing. It's all intentional with the idea of not allowing him an escape route. Or if you do, it is one singular escape route that you've got a linebacker waiting. It was a very well-crafted game plan with Steve Spagnuolo, who knows how to craft a game plan against this guy to try and slow him down. I actually think we're going to see the best rush integrity that we have seen all year long, which until last week wouldn't have been saying much, but last week was pretty decent. It was pretty good. I think we're going to see a good game plan against Lamar Jackson. Whether or not it works is up to the execution of those guys, but I think they are drilling it. I think that they are ready for it, and I think that they know how to best stop him. Spags is just that guy against Lamar right now.
In the past, the Chiefs have done a very good job against Lamar, as you guys have said, at kind of mush rushing him, having their defensive ends kind of keep him corralled, letting the pocket just kind of collapse on him. And as Lamar's gotten to be a better passer throughout that time, I think you have seen him get a little bit better versus that style. So I don't think it can just be this slow constricting rush anymore. I think if you do that, he's just going to drift farther and farther in the pocket until A, space opens up for him to run, or B, he finds somebody open. So it has to be a little different than what it was 3 years ago for the Chiefs. And that does make me a little nervous, especially combining that with having guys like Ashton Gelati playing a lot of reps. That guy's a bull in a china shop, right? Like it's just see red all the time. I don't know if you can convince him to slow down and play a certain way, right? So I do think they'll have some challenges with this, but I do expect 2 weeks ago against the Eagles, we got the cover zero game plan. Last week against the Giants, we're going to play split safeties 80% of the time. We're not even going to mess with it. Steve Spagnuolo is showing you he's not afraid to go to the extremes in these specific games. So I do wonder if you don't get a spy, if you don't get two spies with one of them adding on late, but the other one trying to overlap the whatever direction Lamar Jackson, is flushed, constant stunting or twisting games, trying to flush him one way. You see it a lot more in college, but I just wonder if you see something from Spags that he leans on for an unusual amount of time in this game, because that's what he's done the past 2 weeks. He's been going to work. So I am curious to see what the plan is for this, because I don't think it's as simple as slapping Leo Chenal at the spy and saying, figure it out. He's going to get outrun every single time. I've seen some people suggest like Jaden Hicks and body type and athleticism. I get it. Some of his worst plays in the NFL has been tackling angles and trying to react to guys putting moves on him. So I don't know if I see that either. I don't know if the Chiefs necessarily have a guy best suited for it. So I do think trying to force Lamar into running and then having somebody specifically ready to attack rather than just spying, if that makes sense. I do like what the Lions did. I have to really go back the next day or two and figure out how it worked, because I saw Aiden Hutchinson getting real far up the arc. I saw those really defensive men flying off the ball. And I'm like, how are they getting away with this? How is Lamar not just going underneath this deep rush and escaping out the B gap? That seems like such an easy thing to do. So I do wonder what they were doing. And maybe that was adding on not a spy, but a delayed blitz, somebody coming downhill a little bit later. I want to see how they did it, because I don't think I'd ever seen somebody rush Lamar Jackson so deep, but it makes sense because he is very comfortable dropping back to 7, then 10, then 12, then 15, and just getting more and more depth until he can run forward because space appears. So I'm curious to see what the Chiefs do against this.
Matty, what's your question?
Oh, mine. Wasn't ready for that. Okay. Mine is, how do the Chiefs bottle up the explosive plays? Question mark. I make sure I put question mark in there for you, Kent. The Baltimore Ravens are first this year in explosive play rate, both as in the pass game and the run game, if I'm not mistaken, but then also overall. They are an explosive play team. They hit big chunk plays. That's what they do. Lamar Jackson makes sense. Derrick Henry makes sense. Here's what I see though. When you remove that first week against the Buffalo Bills, when Derrick Henry ran wild, right? You take away the run game. The past 2 weeks, the run game hasn't been so good. They still hit explosive plays at a good rate. But guess what? Their success rate tanks down to 18th in the drop back game. 18th overall in their EPA per play, their success rate per play. Their EPA stays kind of high because, again, explosive plays, but they are not successful driving the ball up and down the field consistently if you take away the run game. So if you can limit explosive plays and you don't let Derrick Henry beat you, I know this is me saying to do a lot of stuff, but this is how the last couple defenses have played them, right? This is what the Browns did. the score is a fluke in that game. And this is what the Lions did, right? They were able to limit Derrick Henry, and then they were limiting, not stopping, but limiting the explosive plays. And you're forcing Lamar Jackson to beat you, not by playing quarterback well or anything like that, because I think he's proven he can do that, but you're forcing them to drive down the field. You're forcing him to play a more dink and dunk style, and Lamar Jackson doesn't like that. And the final thing here that I think we've seen from the Ravens over the past ever, since they won, the Super Bowl where they flipped the lights off. I think what we've seen from them is giving them more chances, they're going to make mistakes. Whether it's Lamar Jackson just dropping the football just because, whether it's Mark Andrews deciding to not use hands for a play, Derrick Henry fumbling for the 4th straight game, you make them run more plays, they're going to make mistakes in high leverage situations. That's just what that team has done for a long time now. So you don't want to give up multiple 50-yard touchdowns. You want to try to make it. This is one of the few times where playing bend, don't break makes a lot of sense, I think. So just try not to give up the explosives and then force them to drive up and down the field.
And we've seen that against Kansas City. We have seen that time and time again in the playoffs. Think about the Zay Flowers fumble game. Chiefs basically said, hey, we're going to make you complete 3 to 5 yard passes all the way down the field, or take 2 to 4 yard runs all the way down the field. And we're going to line up and we're going to tackle. We're going to make you play death by 1,000 paper cuts. Lamar Jackson doesn't want to do that. He's too dynamic. He wants to go out there. He wants to throw the ball down the field. He wants to do what makes him Lamar Jackson. You're making him play opposite-handed in that case. The problem with that, I agree, Maddie. I think that is the best way to try and slow this offense down. Problem with that, the Chiefs are not as good of a tackling team this year as we've seen them be over the past 2 or 3 years. You see a lot of missed tackles so far. Got better last week, little less dynamic offense last week. Okay, what do we see here? You hope that guys like Jaden Hicks, Christian Roland Wallace, Chamari Connor, that are going to be kicking down and being that guy that has to fill that. I'm less worried about Brian Cook. Brian Cook seems to still have the ability to line up and hit guys. Those other 3 guys, though, those are the guys that we've seen miss some tackles. Those are the guys that we have seen when the Chiefs have given up explosive plays, especially if they're short passes or run explosive plays. It's those guys that we see, less Christian Roland Wallace. He barely played. Sorry, don't mean to throw you in there, CRW, but Shamari, Jaden Hicks are missing big tackles, and now all of a sudden you see those bigger gains. They have to limit these guys. They have to slow them down when you make them play that way. But I do agree, that is the way that you have to play, top down against this team. Try and fill alleys, try and limit some of these runs that we've seen Derrick Henry go for 40, limit it to 8, and pat yourself on the back and say, okay, we'll get him the next set of downs. No big deal here. No harm, no foul. That's what they have to do. That's what they have done really well against Steve Spagnuolo. And then as the game goes along, you see it start to slowly fall apart. I saw, maybe it was Ben Solak this past week, said something to the effect of, I forget that the Chargers or that the Ravens have a little Chargers in them. They've got that ability to just kind of cough up a game near the end at times. The Ravens definitely do. When they get in their own head, you see some of that happen. You saw it happen with Derrick Henry last week, a massive fumble at a crucial point of the game. Again, they can't do that, but they do routinely.
Greg Roman has coordinated both the Chargers and the Ravens. I will say, I do think the Chiefs, when they want to stop the run, they've shown the propensity and ability to do it, right? They did a really good job stopping the run with this version of this team this year against the Chargers in week 1. They slowed the run game down really well outside of Justin Herbert. The true running game for the Chargers was not effective. And they were one of the few teams early in the season last year that actually slowed down Derrick Henry, held him to 3.5 yards per carry against the Chiefs in week 1 of last season. So if the Chiefs do devote some resources to try to stop the run, I do feel yes, the tackling is a concern, but also when they are hunkering down and focused on that, I think good things have typically happened when they try to do that. And so if that's something that they try to, hey, let's just be really successful on early downs. And again, like you said, try to force the ball down the field a little bit. I don't know. I think that's part of the formula, and I think we've shown that, or they've shown that when they do want to devote resources to stopping the run, that they've been able to do so. Craig, what's your question?
Before we throw up my question, I just want to give everybody a peek behind the curtain here. Tucker had to send us all a message because what Kent posed right there, how do you mush rush Lamar Jackson, was the question that all three of us blindly asked.
All three? Was it the same
all
thing?
Three.
No, mine wasn't about the mush rush. Mine was
it's
essentially
not
just
fair, but-
stating. Oh, no, I just want to say mine was stating that the Chiefs' pass rush is apparently not a problem at all because they have the best non-blitzing pressure rate in the NFL.
No. Those are fake numbers. I'm sorry. All the numbers that are coming about EPA per play and pressure percentage and all of that are just wrong. Those are flat wrong. I don't care. But no, mine was about rush lane integrity and all of that. So yeah, Tucker, being the super producer that he is, made sure that we went out of our way to cover this appropriately. Okay, Tucker, throw mine up, please. How can the Chiefs stop the run out of base? I don't know if you guys know this, but when the Chiefs are in their base defense, they are the worst defense in the NFL against the run. I know that may surprise you, but from a success rate perspective, they are. I think one of the things that we have generally hung our hats on when we've talked about the Chiefs defense is, well, they can kind of stop the run. We feel good about their ability to stop the run, not against base. They have been terrible against base defense. Guess who loves to use base defense all the time? It is the Baltimore Ravens. Last week alone, the Baltimore Ravens were in their base defense 27 plays. For reference, the Chiefs on the season have been in their base defense, holy cow, 52 total plays. So half the plays, one singular game. A lot of those came against the Chargers, who were able to move the ball at will, especially through the air, on the ground. That was not a problem for the Chargers offense. The Ravens, it doesn't matter if they have Patrick Ricard on the field. He is their fullback. He is the guy that kind of makes things go in some of their two-back formations. Last week, they didn't have Patrick Ricard. Didn't matter. They still lined up and played out of their base defense. Chiefs are terrible at defending, especially two-back formations. We've talked about that all year long. Also out of base defense. Ravens love to use both of those. That's how they get their run game going. It has to be better on the Chiefs defense. They have to win up front. Omar Norman-Lott has kind of come into his own a little bit. I'm not saying that he's going to be the king and the savior of this run defense, but we have seen him play better, especially against the pass, versus a guy like Derek Nottie. You see a little bit more improvement on that front with Omar Norman-Lott on the field. We've seen the defense get a little bit better, but it has to come from that second level. Nick Bolton has not played particularly well this year. Leo Chanel has had little glimpses here and there, but has not really played well. Drew Tranquil has had glimpses, moments, certainly more than those other two, but has faded the past couple of weeks, hasn't been the same impact player. We need to see so much more out of this front seven, especially against these heavy formations that they're very comfortable throwing the ball out of. That means you're going to see Mark Andrews up against a guy like Nick Bolton, Leo Chanel. That's not a matchup that I love. And then when they're running the ball, it's really, really bad. That's how they get things going with Justice Hill and Derrick Henry on the ground, as well as Lamar Jackson out of the backfield. It's just really a big glaring weak spot for the Chiefs defense going up against a really big strength for the Baltimore Ravens. And this could end up being this thing where it's a low number of drives. The Chiefs already have some of the lowest number of drives, offensive drives in the league right now. They had 8 against the Chargers, 9 against the Eagles, 10 against the Giants. That's really low compared to everybody else in the league. It's going to get even lower if they are able to, basically line up against this Chiefs defense, the Ravens that is, and run the ball the way that they have all year long.
No, you waiting for me, Kent? Sorry. The Chiefs with base defense, they've gone through quite the journey over their time with Spags, right? Like it was a huge weakness of his when he first got in KC, and they hadn't had to figure out what to do. And then Leo Chenal kind of came around, and that was this huge thing for them, last year and the year before. But like midway through last year, teams kind of figured out how to like counter it, right? They quit letting the Chiefs weaponize Leo Chenal. They started finding ways to put him in conflict and get ways to get him in coverage. And that's not a great look. And the Ravens were not one of the teams that did that. He had a phenomenal game against them last season when the two teams played in that opener. Like he absolutely destroyed their guards, Ricard, anything they tried to do. I assume they will have a better plan for how to handle him. The Chiefs this year have also been playing him as an actual defensive end. Now, maybe this is some of Mike Dana being hurt, Charles Omenihu being not good. I don't know what the rationale is, but they've been playing him as an actual defensive end a little bit more this year. Not so much success, but they've been playing him in there nonetheless, right? So I am curious to see what the Chiefs do. If Leo Chenal's not having a big game, their base defense overall is scary because it takes away everything that makes them good, right? It takes away all the moving parts. It takes away Spags' ability to call a game plan that puts them in the just like to go to the extremes of whatever he's trying to do, which seems to be how he's having success this year. So I do think they need a big Chenal game to help that. But then also, like, if the Ravens are going to play and put them there, you have to manhandle that offensive line. You have to be the more physical team. We've seen the Ravens that are not the most physical team this year. You can push them around a little bit. So the Chiefs have to do that when they are in base, make the Ravens get out of it because they can't get any ground.
Yeah, Leo Chenal, like the Chiefs, the game against the Ravens was week 1 last year. And that was one of those like bright moments that had us all just swooning over Leo Chenal. And then like there was some weaker moments as the season went on, but that is a great point. I'm just curious to see like what changes in how they treat Leo Chenal, what they try to do to get him, to kind of eliminate what he was able to do last season in that game. Like, do they try to get him in coverage a little, put him in conflict a little bit? That will be a big thing to watch. Let's go to players to watch. Craig, what you got?
Oh, I've got Mike Dana, and Maddie kind of covered it a little bit there. This Chiefs defense has not been the same against, the run base defense, being able to keep rush lane integrity without a guy like Mike Dana. I don't think that he is a game-changing player by any means, but he does a lot of the dirty stuff, a lot of the little stuff that really makes this defense go and helps keep the rush lane integrity, helps keep runs bottled up. I know that he's coming off of an injury. I'm not expecting him to play a ton, but like Maddie said, Charles Omenihu has not been good at that right now. He just really has not. They need another guy, especially against this team that's going to play a lot of heavy personnel that can line up and hold his own, set the edge a little bit, allow Chris Jones to do the thing that he's going to do, shoot into the backfield, make plays, try and create some negative plays. He is going to be that kind of unsung, underrated guy that's just going to do the dirty work all game long and keep Lamar Jackson in the pocket, keep Derrick Henry from being able to turn things upfield, and limit some of the explosives that this Ravens offense can do.
I'll go Shamari Connor. There's a decent chance that Isaiah Likely is likely to return for this game. I think there's some expectation that they could see him getting back into the fold here. That adds another tight end that the Ravens will almost assuredly leverage and try to put multiple tight ends on the field at the same time. How the Chiefs counteract with that? Does a Shamari Connor wind up in the slot a little bit more to try to counteract some more of those tight ends? I think that's something that could be leveraged both by the Chiefs to try to counteract that, especially considering that Derrick Henry is going to be getting the ball a lot. I think when they throw 12 personnel, when they throw 13 personnel on there. So I think it's going to be on the defensive backs and some of those slot defenders to really come in and make some big plays. And I think Shamari Connor is someone that could see some time in the slot a lot this week, maybe more matchup dependent than in previous weeks. So give me Shamari Connor as my player to watch.
I'm going to go with Omar Norman Lott. He's been playing a little bit more week in and week out, and we kind of touched on it with the mush rush thing. This is where it was coming in for me. from what I could see live, it felt like the Lions did a lot of trying to push the defensive ends up the arc, and then they were trying to force Lamar Jackson off his spot. The defensive ends knew that they were going to have to counter back inside at a certain point to track him, so he couldn't escape underneath. But that puts a lot of pressure on your interior guys, your Chris Joneses, if he's not playing the end, and Omar Norman Lott, who I think will be in the spot a lot, of making sure that they are in a position where they can two gap. They can go right or left. They aren't getting walled off one way or the other. They have to hold their ground and be ready to disengage one way or the other. Doesn't mean you can't get a little bit of like penetration. You can't be working towards the quarterback, but you can't really get out of a gap and let yourself get sealed. You are a cleanup guy. You are a wall forcing Lamar to choose a side, not, making the choice for him by getting out of position. So I think it'll be a big game for him. I expect to see a lot more of him than Derek Nottie, just a better athlete there playing in the middle. He's getting more run on early downs than he is late downs right now, but this might be a game where they want that kind of extra athleticism and ability to hold off a blocker while being able to maintain the ability to go right and left. So big game for O&L coming here, I think.
All right, game prediction time. Let's get after it here. Craig, tell me what you got.
I hate this matchup for the Chiefs. I'm going to be honest. I hate it. The ways to beat the Ravens are not the ways that the Chiefs really thrive, and the ways that the Ravens want to play offense are the ways that the Chiefs defense suck at defending. This is not a fun one right now. I feel a lot better with Rashee Rice on the field. He's not coming back. I feel a lot better if we had seen Xavier Worthy play a ton this season, and if we trusted that labrum was going to hold up and they're not going to ease him in. Certainly not going to be running mesh with Roquan Smith waiting in the middle of the field. Like, that is a recipe to try and get that shoulder separated again. So they're going to be limited in some of the things that they can do on offense. I do think this is the biggest offensive output from a points scoring perspective for the Chiefs. The problem is, the Baltimore Ravens are scoring 37 points a game right now. I mean, they are just absolutely putting up points. I think this is a game with a limited number of drives. I think we see the lowest points total that the Ravens have scored all year long, and I think we see the highest points total that the Chiefs have scored all year long. But unfortunately, they dropped this one 28-24. I don't want to say it. I hate picking against the Chiefs. Go ahead, put it in the chat. Craig picked the Ravens. I get it. Completely understand. I just hate this matchup.
Maddie?
Oh, I thought I was going third. You said that. Okay. I'm confused now. I don't get this. Wow. I am really torn on this one. I'm with Craig in that the way that the Chiefs and the way these two teams are like match up, it definitely points towards the Ravens have better answers for where the Chiefs struggle and the Chiefs having better answers for where the Ravens struggle. Like, I think that's 100% true. And I don't think the Ravens are playing great football across the board right now, but they are undoubtedly playing better football overall than the Kansas City Chiefs are. I think having Xavier Worthy in his first game back, not great. Not having Rashee Rice, having a defense that's still kind of piecing stuff together with these kind of extreme game plans that you can't really utilize week in and week out is tough in this matchup. So, like, no matter how much I want to sit here and say, I think the Chiefs pulled this one off, I think they have it. I think this is a regular season game where the Ravens come in, their backs are just as against the wall as the Chiefs are. They need this game just as bad. They just lost a game kind of in an embarrassing fashion on national television that everybody watched. That's going to give them an edge. The Chiefs have beaten the last two times. They think they should have won both. It was really close. I think the Ravens take this one 26-24, but the Chiefs put out a better performance than they had in some of their other losses this year.
Maddie, do you walk away mad? Like,
yes, because they're 1-3.
Okay.
Yeah, you can't be 1-3 and not be mad, I don't think. I think we've reached the point now where every loss matters. Being 1-3, you're almost for certain, in the AFC especially, you're almost certainly not going to win your division now. It's a long road to catch the Chargers. You are fighting for a wild card spot at best. At 1-3, I'm mad, no matter what.
I don't know if it's just because last year was just the most boring 15-2 season of all time, the malaise of the 0-2 start. I don't know what it is exactly. The vibe just feels entirely different than it has in recent memory. But, man, that win really did something for me. I felt a lot better walking away after the Kansas City Chiefs were back in the win column. And I think the farther away I've gotten from that game, the better I feel. And I wonder if just, maybe a little bit of weight's been lifted off of that team as well, right? A little bit of pressure's just lifted off that team that as well after that really rough start. I just have you know what? Like everything we've talked about is legitimate today. And I think if the Chiefs lose, we can point to a lot of the things that we've talked about here. I don't think it's happening. I think the Chiefs are going to play free. I think they're going to play their best game of the season. I think both sides of the football will play complementary. I think the offense is going to look a lot better than it has in the first 3 weeks. I think Xavier Worthy's introduction into the offense and just I think this team getting better as the season has gone on shows up at home against the Baltimore Ravens. I think they're winning this football game. I think they're taking care of business. And I think we're puffing our chests up a little bit after this game. I think it'd be a really fun post game when the Kansas City Chiefs beat the Baltimore Ravens 27-24 to go to 2-2. And now we go. It's the now we go game. Here we go. Now things are starting. We're back into it, baby. I can't wait. We will talk to you on the KCSN post-game show after a Kansas City Chiefs victory over sort of a rival, but really haven't even come close to being good enough to be on our level, Baltimore Ravens. We'll talk to you later.
Just go to the right, zone, please.